Okay, the pelvis and your back pain, is there a connection? There probably is, but not the way you think there is. So most people are quite fixated on the fact that the pelvis has got to be in a certain position. If it's in that position, they're fine, they won't experience pain. Now the research tells us otherwise. The research says people who are not experiencing pain have freedom in their pelvis. It's not fixated in a certain position. Quite often people might be anteriorly tilted, but they're fine, they move and they function well. So today I want to give you some exercises to show you how to disassociate your pelvis. What I mean by that is move it freely without the rest of your body getting involved. Now why is this so important? It's important because the pelvis basically starts a lot of our movement. So what I mean by that, if I'm going to go and reach for an object or maybe just tie my laters up, I'm probably going to initiate the movement through my hips. And a lot of people who are into exercise and health have probably heard of hip hinging. And that's a vital movement. But that needs to go back a further stage. And we have to, before we even hinge, we have to think about, can I move my pelvis on its own? So as I said, that's what I'm going to go through with you today, guys. That's going to set up a really strong foundation, and that will set you up for future exercises that we're going to talk about at present movement. Okay, so today's video is all about teaching you how to hip hinge. Now, there's a few reasons we want to be able to do this. First of all, it's a great way of dissipating force. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people, when they sort of bend forward, they sometimes lose the ability to actually move through the hips effectively. So they tend to sometimes take a lot of load into their lower back. So sometimes getting people to hinge more effectively is a great way of starting people to get stronger and to move more effectively. Also, we find people come to us maybe already in pain. They sometimes lost the ability to sort of move through that part of their body. It's all become a bit sort of blurred essentially, so that the brain can't really connect to that part of the body. So what we find, taking people onto a mat and teaching people how to move their hips independently of the rest of the body is a really good way to start. Essentially, it builds that foundation. Then from there, we can go stage by stage by stage and essentially give you something called a gradient approach. So what I mean by that is I'm gradually making it harder and more challenging. Essentially, that can go on for as long as I want to take it. But we're going to start from the real foundation today. And so it's going to be in a sort of all fours position, teach you how to literally what I call disassociate your pelvis, so tilting it independently of the rest of the body. And notch by notch, I'm going to take you through sort of 3 or 4 exercises today, guys, and hopefully help you move a lot better. If you're already in pain, it'll make a big difference. But if you're not, it's going to improve how you move and set you up for some really good strength exercises. So I'll crack straight one. First one we're looking at, I'm in this sort of all fours position. So again, I'm nice and relaxed. I don't get too stressed about kind of the exact position, but I tend to have people sort of roughly hands in line with shoulders and roughly knees in line with hips. But again, you don't have to be too rigid with it. And all I'm thinking about is what's going on in my pelvis. And what I'm trying to do is a subtle little sort of tilt. And you'll see as I sort of tilt, my pelvis sort of comes down, my bum slightly sticks up. It's a real subtle little movement. So it's a tilt here, and I sort of start to top my tailbone under and a tilt back again. So it's not quite the old sort of cat-cow position that you see people do. It's a bit subtler than that. I'm just trying to think about what's going on at my pelvis rather than thinking about the rest of the body. So literally tilt, tilt. So you can see a subtle little movement in and around my glutes, nice and controlled. Maybe I spend 20, 30 seconds on this, and then that'll set us up really well for the next exercise, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so next exercise, talking about tilting that pelvis, but we're going to be in a tall kneeling position. So what I mean by that is essentially your knees are going to be on the floor. The main reason for this really is almost to give people one less thing to think about, so they can still focus on what's going on in the hips without necessarily having to sort of stand up and think about what their ankles and knees are doing. So this is what it's going to look like. So tall kneeling, as I said, so knees are going to be in line with my hips, nice upright posture, but I'm focused on what's going on here. So my hands are literally going to sit on top of my pelvis here. I'll just show you what it's going to look like. So I'm going to be tucked in here. Then from there, same tilting process I talked about exercise previously. So it's tilt forward, bum slightly sticks out a little bit, and tilt back, and I tuck my tailbone in. So it's tilt and tilt. And as you can see, it's a subtle movement. Just how I mentioned earlier, a lot of people start getting the rest of the body involved and start doing all sorts of thrusting motions. None of that. It's just a real subtle little motion at this stage. Again, it might come quite naturally to you. Some people find it's more difficult to do, so take your time with it. I would probably say 30 seconds is more than enough. Sometimes be able to do 2 or 3 sets of that. But give it a go. Once that feels more natural, then you can go on to the next stage, which I'll show you next. Okay, so final video is going to be the full hinge. We're going to start off just literally getting the pelvic tilt like we worked on earlier, then we're going to take it into a full hinge. So I'll just show you from the side. So just to recap, the pelvic tilt was tilt under, sort of tucking my tailbone in, squeeze my glutes a little bit, and tucking out a little bit, bum slightly sticks up. So it's tilt and tilt, which you've seen in previous videos. So now then, what I'm going to do to hinge, I'm going to get the tilt forward when my bum slightly sticks out a little bit, and that's initiates the movement into my full hinge. Then come back up, reset, and go again, tilt into that hinge. So once we've got people doing that, then it will start to feel more natural for them, and they can start to do it in one fluid motion. Then they've got some options. They can speed it up, they can add loads, all sorts. Now what I want to get through to you today, guys, is this is just one step of your journey. So with movement, we're never sort of saying to people, right, you've done that, you're sorted, you're cured from back pain or anything like that. It's a constantly evolving journey, but this is a foundation. If you can get these movements right today, it's going to set you up well for future movements. And we're going to do lots of videos showing you different ways you can use this hinge, maybe on a single leg, maybe using different reaches and stuff like that. If you can grasp this, not only get the foundation, you can see how this could set me up for quite a functional activity, just bending to pick something up. And we know from the research that bending is actually a really important way to reduce back pain. And we see a lot of people who are in pain stepping away from this kind of stuff. So do it, it will help prevent pain. If you're in pain, do it because it will help you a lot. Give us some feedback, anything else you want to see, we'll give you some more videos and some more value.